Is the website. John, welcome to the show. John?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Glad to have you with us. You are a British expat contributing editor for National Review, which hosts your regular column, The Straggler, a regular column contributor to the National Review Online, award-winning author of a number of science books, a novel, and your newest book, We Are Doomed, Reclaiming Conservative Pessimism, with an extraordinarily Monty Python-ish photo of you at the very end with a big frown on your face. You really feel that bad, John?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Tom.
Do you really feel that bad about the state of things? I mean, you end the book on a rather positive note. You say, as bad as our situation may look, there are mysterious slow tides moving beneath the surface, things generating their opposites, thesis becoming antithesis. If we stare hard enough at the corpse of American conservatism, I sometimes fancy I see a slight twitch or a passing flush of color.
Well,
Do
you know, to tell you the truth, Tom, the book as I wrote it was even darker than that.
Yes.
But my publisher said, you know, you really have to offer a little gleam of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
So in that closing chapter, I did my best to do that. You know,
I've had publishers say that to me too.
But I'm not. People have said, and I think they're probably right, that I didn't really. That's the least convincing part of the book.
Yeah. I'm curious. Although it's been sensationalized already, I think that actually there's a conversation to be had here. Your chapter, Sex, Surplus to Requirements, the case against female suffrage. Now, suffrage, of course, is the universal right to vote or to participate in the economic life of a community. You say I've attended approximately 1 million conservative gatherings. The normal male-to-female ratio is around 10 to 1, men to women. And you go on to point out that women, by and large, once they're in charge, they institute a program of pure socialism. My question to you, then, is what's so bad about that? If the conservative men, are instituting programs of predatory capitalism and creating poverty and creating wars, and the women want to create a world that works and is a little better place to live, why are you upset?
Well, excuse me, socialism doesn't work very well. It's been abandoned.
The Norwegians rather love it.
I'm sorry?
The Norwegians rather love it. The Swedes are doing well. The French, the Germans. I mean, I'm talking about democratic socialism. Did you mean Marxism?
That is socialism. At least they tell us it is. Well,
the definitions certainly in the United States, I think, are quite different than in Europe. You know, we use the word liberal here quite differently as well. Okay, so what you meant is women, when they're put in charge, institute pure Marxism, Marxist socialism.
I didn't actually say that. I said that's what Aristophanes said, which is not the same thing.
Right.
But, yes, the thrust of that chapter, the title of the book is We Are Doomed, and it's addressed to conservatives, and it tells conservatives you're doomed. Now, the thrust of that chapter is something like this, that women tend, in the generality, of course, you know, you have your Margaret Thatchers and your Sarah Palins, God bless them, but in the generality, women are more inclined to leftist programs than men are. And therefore, if that's true, if society is feminizing, if society is being feminized, that's bad news for conservatives.
Right, and you make the case that society is being feminized.
And then I make the case, and it is being feminized, and therefore we are doomed. That's the logical progression of the chapter. So yes, it does start out with the assertion that women are more inclined towards leftist programs than men are.
And yet you then go on to say it's notorious that men misbehave much more than women. 90% of U.S. jail inmates are men, as are 90% of murderers and 80% of drunk drivers. Thomas Jefferson, in his personal diaries, noted how in 5 of the 6 Iroquois Confederacy nations, because they had a requirement in their constitution that all decisions be made in the context of the 7th generation, they had realized that among them there was a group that really was more interested in the 7th generation than in strutting around and just being the big shot today, and that was the women. And in 5 of the 6 Iroquois nations, which, as Franklin pointed out at the beginning of the Constitutional Convention, had lived in peace for 1,000 years, only women could vote. I would submit to you the antithesis of your suggestion that instead of disenfranchising women, we should have a serious conversation in the United States about disenfranchising men.
Well, if I think any ardent feminist who actually read the chapter would end up cheering me on, because as I recall, I don't have it in front of me, but as I recall, at the end of the chapter, the women kill and eat the men. So,
I think you were tongue-in-cheek there.
Well,
you asked, can the men be saved? You document.
Tom, take a look at that photograph on the dust cover again.
Okay, but this is actually pretty brilliant, John Derbyshire, and I want to give you credit for this.
This is a work of polemic. There's no index.
Oh, absolutely.
Bibliography.
I know.
So,
but in this chapter, can the men be saved? You say before the rise of agriculture 10,000 or so years ago, men and women treated each other in fairly egalitarian ways. And then with agriculture came higher density, better organized, hierarchical, some would not say better, and more constrained societies, and the sexes were less egalitarian. And now modern post-industrial societies taking us back to the Pleistocene. Once again, we're egalitarian in our treatment of each other. I see that as moving forward, not backwards.
Yeah.
So why would you want to disenfranchise women? Why would you want to say women should not be allowed to vote in our society?
Where did I say that?
Well, do you believe that women should be allowed to vote?
Yeah, of course I do. I mean,
why then the subtitle of the chapter called "The Case Against Female Suffrage"?
Because there is a case against female suffrage. But if you ask me, do I think women should be disenfranchised? To me that sounds like saying, do you think we should bring back the feudal system? Nobody's going to disenfranchise women. The 19th Amendment was passed by proper democratic process and ratified by all the states. I'm a freelance writer scratching away on my attic here. I'm not going to overthrow the 19th Amendment. You can all stop screaming and tearing your hair.
Yeah. John, your phone is breaking up terribly. Any idea why?
Oh, dear. No, I don't. It's a perfectly good phone, and it's certainly well.
It's just suddenly started disintegrating.
Oh, dear. I'm sorry. Can you hear me all right now?
Well, you continue making your point.
Okay, which I've now lost track of course. But, feminine suffrage is here to stay, but it's not. I belong to the school of thought that says that nothing is unquestionable. Yeah,
but did you not say to, for example, my colleague Alan Colmes that you thought that women should not be allowed to vote? That this would be a better country anyway if women were not allowed to vote.
Well, my mentor Bill Buckley used to say, "He who says A must say B," and the logic of that chapter 5 in my book, rests on the proposition that women voting is bad for conservatism. And as a conservative, of course, I think that's bad for society.
So, therefore, if women were not allowed to vote, it would be a better country, in your opinion?
I think, as a hypothetical, I think that's arguable. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So,
I mean, look, take Switzerland. Women, the question of whether women could vote in Switzerland wasn't settled finally until, I think, 1990. So, and I don't think anybody looks on Switzerland as a backward, impoverished, and oppressive country. Well, perhaps you do. I don't know. But
it's settled at law. I mean, the women were voting in Switzerland long before they were voting in the United States.
Only in some places, in some cantons, and on some issues. It was not a constitutional right until the 1980s.
Right, but Switzerland, because the cantons are so much stronger than the federal state. I mean, we're comparing apples and oranges here, but anyhow, the book. Okay, all right, we're not. The book is "We Are Doomed: Reclaiming Conservative Pessimism." John Derbyshire, the author. JohnDerbyshire.com is the website. John, thanks for dropping by today.
It's been fun.
It has. 15 minutes past the hour.